Am I the asshole for burning every bridge after my cousin falsely accused me of sexual assault and my family instantly believed her? Hey, before we move on to the video, please subscribe to the channel and hit the like button. Thanks. I was never the golden child. Not the favorite. Not the pride of the family. If anything, I was the opposite, a living, breathing punching bag for everyone else's frustrations. My name is Eric, and I'm 17. Growing up, I learned early that no matter what happened, it was always going to be my fault. If something broke, I must have been careless. If there was a fight between my siblings, I must have started it. If my cousin tripped on the sidewalk, someone would find a way to blame me for being a bad influence, even if I was nowhere nearby. My parents never hit me, but sometimes I think the constant disbelief and mistrust cut deeper than anything a fist could. My mom would give me that look, a mix of exhaustion and annoyance, like she had already decided I was guilty before I even opened my mouth. My dad didn't even bother pretending to listen. Eric, just admit you did it so we can move on. That was his solution to everything. But no matter how hard they pushed me into this role, I wasn't some delinquent. I kept my head down at school. I worked part-time at a local auto shop after class. I had a couple of friends, nothing huge, but enough. For a while, I thought if I just kept working, just stayed quiet, maybe I could carve out a life away from them. Then there was her Melissa, my cousin. Melissa was 2 years younger than me, but you'd never know it by the way the adults treated her. She was the star, the sweet, precious girl who could do no wrong. When we were little, she would cry and get me in trouble for things she broke, lies she told, fights she started. And every single time, my family would believe her. I remember one time, I was maybe 12, she told everyone I'd pushed her off the swings. I hadn't even been near the playground that day, but it didn't matter. My parents dragged me home in silence and grounded me for a week. Melissa got ice cream and a new dress. That's just how it always was. Melissa played the victim, and I played the villain. I thought maybe, just maybe, as we got older things would change. They didn't. She still played her games. I just got better at ignoring them. What I didn't know was that she was about to play a game that would destroy everything. The funny thing is, before it all fell apart, I actually thought Melissa and I had reached some kind of truce. We'd both grown up. She'd gotten into her little clique at school. I had my job and was saving up for my own car. We barely even crossed paths outside of family events. But there was always something under the surface with her. Jealousy, maybe. Resentment, definitely. I think she hated that I had started pulling away from the family. That I wasn't begging for their approval anymore. That I was finding small pieces of happiness without them. She couldn't stand it. It was a Sunday afternoon when the trap was set. My uncle was hosting a family barbecue. The usual suspects were there, my parents, my sister, my cousins, my aunts and uncles. I spent most of the afternoon sitting on the edge of the patio, scrolling through my phone and waiting for the moment I could leave without starting an argument. Melissa approached me halfway through the day. Hey, Eric, want to go inside? I found something you'd probably like. It was strange. She hadn't spoken to me much in the past year, but her voice was friendly. Innocent. I should have said no. But in that moment, I thought maybe, just maybe, she'd finally outgrown her drama. She led me into the house, to the den where my uncle kept old video games. We played for a bit. She asked about my job, my plans after school. It almost felt normal. Looking back, I realized now it was all part of the setup. The careful staging. The trap. At some point, she got a text and abruptly left the room. I didn't think anything of it. I stayed behind, finished the game I was playing, and eventually went back outside. By the time I stepped onto the patio again, everything had changed. Melissa was sitting on the porch steps, crying, surrounded by adults. Her mom was holding her tightly, whispering into her hair, while my dad's face was hard and cold as stone. The moment he saw me, his jaw clenched. Eric, we need to talk. His voice was low, controlled, but I could feel the storm behind it. I remember glancing at Melissa. She wouldn't meet my eyes. The look on my dad's face told me everything I needed to know. The game was over. The verdict was in. I was guilty. Again. Except this time, it wasn't just a broken toy or a playground lie. This time, it would ruin my life. I followed my dad to the side of the house, out of earshot from the rest of the family, though their glances burned into my back the whole way. Sit, he barked, not waiting to see if I'd obey. He crossed his arms, pacing in front of me like I was some criminal he'd finally caught. What's going on? I asked, my voice already dry, a knot twisting in my stomach. He stopped and glared at me like he couldn't believe I'd even ask. Melissa says you touched her. The words dropped like a bomb. Not a slap, not a push, not some broken lamp I could fix. Touch her. I stared at him, my mind spinning, stuck in a delay, like the words had to travel miles before I could understand them. What? I croaked. What are you talking about? That's insane. I didn't. She wouldn't lie about this. His voice sharpened, cutting me off before I could defend myself. But she would. She would lie. She had lied again and again. But this wasn't some petty schoolyard story. This was something no one would stop to question. It didn't matter that I hadn't done it. It didn't matter that there was no proof. All that mattered was Melissa's tears. I swear to you, Dad, I didn't touch her. We were playing video games. She left the room. I stayed behind. That's it. That's all that happened. My dad's jaw tightened, his eyes narrowing like I just insulted his intelligence. So you're calling your cousin a liar? I hesitated. I wasn't supposed to say it. I knew the rules. But what choice did I have? Yes, I said, my voice trembling. She's lying. He exploded. His hand slammed against the fence, rattling the wooden boards. You little piece of, how dare you try to turn this on her? The rest of the family came pouring around the corner then, drawn by the yelling. My mother's face was twisted in disgust. My aunt's lips pressed into a thin, trembling line. Melissa clung to her, her head down, her soft sobs the perfect soundtrack to my downfall. I tried to explain. I begged them to listen. I told them exactly what happened, that we went inside, played games, she got a text and left. That's it. She would never make something like this up. My mother snapped, pulling my dad back when he took a step toward me. Why can't you just admit what you did? Maybe then we can help you. I didn't do anything, I said, louder this time, my voice cracking. Melissa finally looked up at me, and I'll never forget the look on her face. There were no tears in her eyes. None. Just a slight tilt to her lips. A flicker of satisfaction, like she'd won a prize she'd been chasing for years. And in that moment, I knew she'd done this on purpose. But no one else saw it. Or maybe they didn't want to. The fallout was nuclear. By Monday morning, the entire family knew. By Monday afternoon, the school knew. Melissa had told her parents immediately, and they had called mine that same evening. Apparently, she told them I cornered her in the den. She didn't need to provide much detail, just enough to let their imagination do the rest. Her story twisted by the hour. By the time it reached the school, I wasn't just a creep. I was a predator. I was suspended the next day. My phone lit up with furious texts from people I barely knew. I wasn't just expelled from school. I was erased. Friends blocked me. Classmates whispered and stared when I passed them in the halls to clean out my locker. Even the few teachers who'd been kind to me before suddenly wouldn't meet my eyes. No one asked for my side. No one cared. I tried to call my best friend, Jordan, the only person I thought might stand by me. He didn't answer. Not that day. Not the next. I got a short text 3 days later. Sorry, man. I can't be involved in this. I got to think about my future. I'd never felt so alone. At home, things got worse. My parents barely spoke to me except to hurl accusations. They stripped my door off its hinges. My mom made me keep my bedroom door open at all times. My dad looked at me like I was a stranger, like I was a threat inside his own house. The tension got so bad I stopped eating dinner with them. I avoided them at all costs. Even my little sister wouldn't speak to me anymore. She'd glance at me like I was some monster lurking in the hallway. They told me they were working with Melissa's parents to get me help. They wanted to send me to counseling, mandatory counseling. Not to support me, but to fix me. I told them I didn't need counseling for something I didn't do. They told me I'd never admit it because I was too far gone. I stayed locked in my room most days, scrolling endlessly through the same text threads, trying to figure out how to make this stop. The school board was preparing to expel me officially. My job had already let me go. We can't have this kind of thing tied to our shop. The words still burned in my head. Melissa's family made no attempt to hide the story. They told everyone. The story spread fast, twisting further with every retelling. Suddenly, I wasn't just the cousin who made a mistake. I was the family's dark secret. The one they all suspected would turn out this way. Even relatives who lived hours away started blocking me on social media. I started to notice people watching me at the grocery store. I heard the whispers. And the worst part? There was nothing I could do. No one would listen. No one wanted to. I was guilty. Guilty until proven innocent. Except in this story, no one was interested in proof. I kept waiting for someone, anyone, to ask me, what really happened? No one did. I think part of me broke then. Not just from the accusation, but from the speed with which everyone threw me away. It was like they'd all been waiting for a reason to get rid of me. And Melissa? She went on with her life. She returned to school. She smiled in her Instagram posts. She still came to family events where I was suddenly no longer welcome. And worst of all, she looked happy. I didn't know it then, but I wasn't going to stay trapped in her story forever. The truth was out there, and I was going to find it, whatever it took. The next few weeks blurred into each other, like I was sleepwalking through my own life. The school moved fast. My expulsion hearing came and went without much of a fight. My parents barely said a word during the process. I sat in that cold room while they read out the findings like it was already carved in stone. There was no criminal case. Melissa's family didn't push for that. Maybe they knew they didn't have enough to take it that far. Maybe they just wanted the social death sentence, not the legal one. But the school didn't care about evidence. The accusation alone was enough. I was gone. I used to walk the halls like I was invisible. Now, I wasn't invisible, I was radioactive. The group chats I used to be in? I was kicked out of all of them within days. People I'd gone to school with since kindergarten wouldn't look me in the eye anymore. Even the teachers who once praised me for my work ethic now looked through me like I didn't exist. One teacher I actually liked, Mr. Baldwin, crossed to the other side of the hall when he saw me packing my things. He didn't even say goodbye. I remember standing outside the school for the last time, my box of textbooks and old notebooks in my arms, just staring at the building. It was over. My life had crumbled in less than a week. At home, it was like I wasn't even there. My mom would drop off food at my door without a word. My dad stopped addressing me directly. I overheard them late at night talking about sending me to some boot camp. Maybe they can fix him. Like I was some broken machine. I tried calling Jordan again. No answer. I called Sarah, a friend I thought I could trust. She picked up, but her voice was tight and cold. Eric, listen, I can't be around you. It's too much. You understand, right? Sarah, you know me. I don't know what to believe anymore. She hung up. I think that was the moment something in me finally snapped. The part of me that kept waiting for someone to save me, to vouch for me, to care, it died right then. There was no one coming. There was no cavalry. There was just me. The internet wasn't any kinder. Some people from school posted vague call-out stories, carefully avoiding my name but making it obvious who they meant. A few old photos of me circulated, captioned with disgusting accusations. My job let me go via text, effective immediately, we're terminating your position. We cannot have this kind of allegation associated with our business. We wish you the best moving forward. Moving forward to what? I wondered. I had nothing left. One night, I finally hit my lowest point. I left the house around midnight, walked to the old park near our neighborhood, and just sat on the swings, staring into the dark. The thought crossed my mind, the permanent solution. Would anyone even miss me? My family clearly wouldn't. My friends were already gone. My name was ruined. The only thing that stopped me was stubbornness. If I disappeared now, it would mean Melissa won completely. It would mean I'd die the villain in her story. No, I wasn't giving her that. I was going to clear my name, even if it took the rest of my life. Even if no one else believed me, I would believe me. I didn't know where to start. Melissa had the entire family on her side, the school against me, and every social circle I'd built had collapsed. I needed proof, something hard, undeniable, something they couldn't twist. I remembered the den we'd been in during the barbecue. It was an older house, but I knew my uncle had security cameras installed around the outside after someone broke into their garage the year before. Maybe there was footage. Maybe something, anything, could prove Melissa had left the room alone, that I hadn't been near her when she claimed I'd done it. I called my Uncle Dave, the only family member who'd stayed somewhat neutral. He hadn't texted me hateful things. He hadn't blocked me. When he answered, his voice was cautious but not cold. Eric, I don't think you should be calling me right now. I just need to know, do you still have security cameras at your place? From the day of the barbecue? There was a long silence. I think so. Why? Please. I just need to see the footage. Just that day. Another pause. I could almost hear him weighing it. Finally, he sighed. I'll check. I don't know why he agreed. Maybe part of him had doubts. Maybe part of him didn't want to be involved, but also couldn't stomach the idea of ignoring me completely. 2 days later, he called me back. I pulled the footage, he said. I'm sending it to you. You need to see this. The footage showed Melissa and me entering the house. The timestamp matched what I remembered. It showed us sitting in the den, visible through the patio door's glass panels. It showed Melissa getting a text, standing up, and leaving the room. It showed me staying there, alone, playing the game for another 10 minutes. There was no physical contact, no chasing, no opportunity for what she had claimed. But that wasn't all. Later in the footage, while the adults were still outside, Melissa was seen in the driveway with her friend, her best friend, Jenny. They were huddled close, whispering. Uncle Dave also sent me a short clip from a different angle, Melissa laughing, with Jenny minutes after she supposedly ran outside crying to the adults. Something wasn't adding up. I took a shot in the dark and messaged Jenny. I didn't expect her to reply, but she did. She told me she felt sick about what Melissa had done. She said Melissa had told her, directly, that she was making it all up because Eric needs to be taught a lesson. He thinks he's better than everyone else. She thought it would just make him squirm for a while. She didn't think the school would expel me. Jenny was willing to give me a written statement. She sent me screenshots of her messages with Melissa, chats where Melissa bragged about the family finally seeing Eric for what he is. I had the proof. Undeniable. And for the first time in weeks, I felt something I thought I'd lost completely. I felt rage, but not the hopeless, crushing kind. This was something new. It was focused, controlled, sharp. It was the rage of someone who knew the truth and finally had the weapons to fight back. Melissa had set fire to my life. Now it was time to burn hers. Armed with the footage and Jenny's statement, I went to the school first. I met with the principal and the disciplinary board again. This time, I wasn't begging to be heard. I was showing them. I laid out the timeline. The security footage proved I was in the den alone for a full 10 minutes after Melissa left. There was no moment where I could have done what she accused me of. The timestamps were airtight. I showed them the clip of Melissa laughing minutes after the supposed assault. Then I gave them the screenshots from Jenny, where Melissa admitted she made it up. There were even messages where she bragged about how easy it had been to ruin me. The room went silent. The board squirmed. They fumbled with their papers. The principal stuttered over his words, clearly trying to find a way to cover themselves. But there wasn't one. What Melissa had done wasn't just wrong, it was criminal. The school reversed the expulsion. They offered to let me return immediately, but the damage was already done. Even with my name technically cleared, I knew what would happen if I walked back into those halls. The whispers wouldn't stop. The labels wouldn't fade. I told them I wouldn't be coming back. Instead, I forced them to issue a formal letter of apology. I made them send it to my parents, to my former employer, to the school community. I demanded they clear my record completely. And they did. Next, I confronted my parents. I walked into the house, holding the folder with the evidence, and tossed it on the kitchen table. My dad sat in stunned silence as he flipped through the screenshots, the stills from the footage, the signed statement from Jenny. My mom went pale as chalk, her hand trembling over her mouth. "You were wrong," I said, my voice ice cold. "You didn't even hesitate to believe the worst about me." "We didn't know. You didn't want to know," I snapped. "You wanted to punish me. You wanted me to be the bad guy because it was easier than listening to me." My dad's fists clenched. I could see the fight in his eyes, but it died quickly. The weight of what they'd done crashed down on them. He looked older in that moment, smaller. "We'll fix this," my mom said weakly. "We can talk to the family." "I don't care about the family," I said. "I'm done with them. I'm done with you." I packed my bags that night. I moved in with Uncle Dave for a while. He insisted. He was the only one who had treated me like a human being throughout all of this. The apologies started rolling in over the next few weeks. My parents, my aunt and uncle, old friends who had abandoned me, classmates who realized the truth but had stayed silent when it mattered. Melissa's parents reached out, begging me to let it go, to just move on so their daughter wouldn't face criminal charges. But I didn't move on. I pressed charges for defamation. Melissa was forced to confess publicly that she had fabricated the entire story. The school community found out. Her social circle collapsed overnight. The girl who once held all the power now walked those same halls as a pariah. Her family tried everything to make amends. They offered to pay me. They begged me to forgive her mistake. Mistake? A mistake is dropping your phone. A mistake is forgetting someone's birthday. What Melissa did wasn't a mistake. It was a calculated, vicious lie. I ignored every message, every email, every voicemail. They didn't get to have me back. The same people who tossed me aside like garbage when they thought I was guilty suddenly wanted me back when it was convenient. Too late. I finished my education elsewhere, far from that town. I built a new life. Made real friends, people who didn't believe the worst of me without question. People who actually stood by me. Years later, my mom sent me one last letter. She told me she regretted everything. That they missed me. That they wanted to start over. I didn't write back. I had already started over without them. Melissa shattered my life, but she didn't destroy me. She just taught me who my real family was. And it wasn't them. Thanks for watching. Make sure to subscribe to the channel and hit the like button.